Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to actually do a tutorial on how to make one of these adorable little babies. Now this might look like a journal on the outside, but actually it is not a journal. I'm going to show you in a minute what this is. I was inspired to make this by watching a few other YouTubers make something very similar to this, but I decided to put a little bit of a twist on it and make it a little different from what most people are making this. I'm really not sure if anybody else had made anything like this as far as the exact detail as to how I decided to make this, but I know that this concept is being created by others. So again, I do not take credit at all for this creation or the concept of this creation. Again, this was inspired by other YouTubers that I had watched make this type of creation. But like I said, I did put a little bit of a twist on it to make it a little bit different from what most people that I have personally seen make this. So again, this does appear to be a journal on the outside, but again, it is not a journal. So I'm going to open this up in a minute and show you exactly what this is. And again, I am going to do a tutorial today to show you guys how to make one of these. So I did create the outside, the cover, the spine, and the back here, and it's not as durable as a journal would be. Okay, it is a little thinner, and again, when I open it up, I will show you why. And I decided to decorate the front here. I thought that came out really, really pretty. So I have it tied together here with some lace, pretty cream colored lace. And oh, that's tied a little tight. A little tight, Jenny. Okay. So I'm going to open this up and again show you guys exactly what this is and show you exactly what we're going to be making. So here we go, guys. This is a Waterfall pocket folio. So what this is you have nine pockets here that are put together in a waterfall fashion. That's what they're called when you have them overlapping and coming down like this. That's considered a waterfall. And each one of these has a pocket. Here, let me grab my bone folder to show you here. Each one of these has a pocket. Okay. And there are also designs on the back of each one of these. Okay, and again, I have 9 pockets on each side. You can choose however many pockets you want. It doesn't have to be 9. You can have 5, you can have 10, you can have 12, you can have 2 or 3. It doesn't matter. Obviously, the size of your pockets or your flaps here would change according to how many you would like, but I went with 9 on each side in order for it to you know, fit nice. I mean, I could have put 10 because there is a little bit of room down here, but I didn't want them coming all the way down to the bottom. So I just decided again to do 9 on each side. And again, it is in a waterfall fashion. So they flip up and down like this. Okay. So again, I have seen other YouTubers make these, but they mostly make them for photos. So instead of putting the pockets on the flaps, they would just put a mat on here and then they would like glue a photo onto it or something like that. Again, I'm not sure if anybody else has done it this way where they added the pocket on the front. If they did, that's great. Again, I'm not claiming to have thought of this creation myself. This is just kind of a spin-off of what I was inspired to do. So again, I am going to show you guys how to make this. It's more of a book, actually. I say folio, but it's more of a book. I just decided to make the cover, the spine and the back to kind of replicate a journal, because I thought it just added more. It made it prettier. And you know, you can put it on a bookshelf with the rest of your books, or you can even fit it in your bag, your purse, because it's not that long. Let's see, I believe it is only, yeah, it's just shy of 7.5 inches long and 4.5 inches wide. So again, it's not too large, it's not too small either. And again, I was holding it closed with this lace here as a, you know, using that as a closure. So we are going to make another one of these so that I can show you guys how. And of course, it's not going to be this exact theme. It is coming up on Valentine's Day, so we're going to do a Valentine's Day theme folio here. And so yeah, guys, if you're interested in learning how to make this, stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, guys, so first we're going to need our base to create the book, the cover, if you will, to put the waterfall effect in. So you can use pretty much anything. Like I said, you can use chipboard if you want it to be thick and durable, cardboard. But in my case, I'm actually using, I'm recycling a piece of, it's like a shipping envelope, and it's one of the bigger ones. So it's got a little heft to it, but it's not too thick. You can also use like cereal boxes and things like that. Recycling is the best way to go as far as making the covers or the outside of this, so that you don't have to really spend money to purchase, you know, the chipboard or whatever you prefer to use. So again, I'm just using an old piece of like a larger shipping envelope that I cut up. So basically now here I have what's going to be the front and the back of the booklet or the folio, and then I have my spine here. So each of these pieces I cut, they are 4.5 inches wide by 7.25 inches long. So let's just make sure. Yep, 4.5 inches wide by 7.25 inches long for both of these. And then for the spine, I have 1 inch wide by 7.25 inches long, because obviously it has to be just as long as the front and the back flaps. So 1/4 inch wide, or I'm sorry, 1 inch wide and 7.25 inches long. Okay, so that's what we're going to have for these two. Now again, like I said in the beginning, Valentine's Day is coming up, so I've just decided to do a Valentine's Day theme for these. And I already have all of my papers cut out, but I will give you the measurements, so don't worry. I just wanted to cut them out beforehand so that I don't bore you guys, you know, with you having to watch me cut them all out, because the cutting is kind of a long process, especially if you do it with scissors. But if you have like a cutting board, like something like this, it goes way faster, which is what I use. But if you don't have one of these, of course you can use scissors. Just make sure that you draw your lines to cut along so that you know for a fact that everything is straight and they are the right sizes, and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cover this. We're going to make the book first. And so again, because I want to go with a Valentine's Day theme, I chose this paper here to be the outside cover. I thought it was really, really pretty and really fitting for the theme that I wanted to go for. So I actually cut this down because this was 12 by 12 inch paper. So in order to make it so that we can wrap this and not be overwhelming with it and have like so much going in on the inside, I did cut this down. So it is 9.5 inches long, guys, not wide, 9.5 inches long by 12 inches wide. So I did keep the width at 12 inches and I just cut it down to the length. I just cut the length down to 9.5 inches long. So like again, when we go to tuck it up underneath, it's not going to be like so overwhelming with like large flaps that we're going to have to tuck in. Okay, so if you don't have paper that is 12 inches by 12 inches, I mean, obviously you can go out and buy some. I actually got mine from, let's see, like a book like this. It's a designer paper booklet, and it comes with like all different like types of paper, and they are 12 by 12 inches long. So you can get these. I mean, you can get these pretty much anywhere. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Hobby Lobby. Sometimes they even have them at Walmart, or you know, your local craft store would have them. So they are 12 inches by 12 inches, which is 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. I know that most printers do not print 12 by 12 inch papers. Some of the larger printers do. I mean, mine definitely doesn't. But again, you can order papers this large. If you prefer to just not use papers this large, you can obviously use your standard size paper that your printer, you know, that would fit in your printer. But obviously you would have to make this project a little bit smaller than what I'm doing. So in that case, I would just kind of make it like half the size. It'll still be just as cute. It just won't be as large. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. And I always like to make sure that it is even on my board here. And we're going to lay our flaps or our pieces down on top of it. But we're going to make sure that it is centered, like exactly centered. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. Okay, and the spine, you want the spine to be like 1/8 of an inch away from the flap. So you want a little tiny bit of a gap between the spine and the flap so that it can fold easily and not tear or crack the paper or even become stubborn and not really fold. So this is what we're going to do. So this looks good, right? This looks about centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line on each side to indicate where we're going to lay these down once we glue them. Because believe it or not, I've done this before where I went to go glue these down and I ended up like way over on one side, and I was like, shoot, how am I going to do this? So I had to kind of start over. So let me just, oh, I want to make sure it's too far away. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. So let's pick these up. We're going to make sure that it's the same on these sides too, but that won't be hard to determine. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our glue. I prefer art glitter glue. You can use any kind of glue. You can use glue stick, you can use tacky glue, art glitter glue, or you can even use score tape. All right, so let's get this glued down. You want a very thin bead. If it kind of shoots out at you like that, just take your finger and smooth it out. You don't want, you know, thick gobs or thick lines of glue, because there's a chance that you'll see those lines through the paper, and you don't want that to happen. You want it to look nice and smooth. So again, very, very thin beads of glue here. Okay, we're going to put this down. Here's our line, and we're going to make sure we have the same amount of space top and bottom. That looks good. With the art glitter glue, it's not very forgiving, so you have to kind of be quick with it when you're laying your pieces down. Okay, take your bone folder. Make sure that's down. Okay, now we're going to do, actually, let's go ahead and do the spine. Get that down so that we can make sure that we pair the other one up close to it where we want it to be, and then we don't have too much of a gap or not enough of a gap when it comes to laying the spine. So we're going to lay the spine next. And remember, you want about 1/8 of an inch between the spine and the flap so that you have some room to bend. If you guys hear snoring in the background, that's literally my dog. He is sleeping, and he is a loud sleeper. He snores all the time. Okay. So when we put this down, yes, that's going to be perfect. Okay, so let's get this one down. And remember, guys, you can use anything to do this. I prefer to recycle things like old mail packages, mail envelopes, cereal boxes, pasta boxes. I create a lot of crafty items out of recycled material. I even use toilet paper rolls to make certain things like pockets and stuff, which I can make a video soon showing you guys how to do different things with that if you'd like to. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you'd like to see. Make sure that's even. All right, so we have those down. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to fold all of these over. But before we do that, we need to cut our corners here so that they don't overlap and like kind of bunch up. So what we're going to do is, and you want to leave, again, about 1/8 of an inch between the corner of your board here and where you're going to cut on your paper. Going to be about the same. Because I am horrible. Let me just turn this around when it comes to making sure that my lines are all like the same, like that they match, you know? Just horrible. I'm not great when it comes to that, I will say. So again, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of space in between where you're going to cut and the corner of your sheet. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our scissors and we're going to cut along those lines that we just made. Being very careful that you stay on the line because you don't want it to look all wonky once you go to fold it over. Okay, there we go. There's that. Okay, so now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to put some glue here, 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 and here. And we're going to fold these pieces over. So what I also like to do, is I know that other crafters like to do as well, is put a thin bead of glue along here, because when you go to fold it over, even on the spine here, when you go to fold it over, your paper will, you know, stick to that edge. That doesn't matter anyway, because we're going to put glue there anyways. And your paper won't crack or wrinkle up or anything like that. So that's what I do first. And also even down the inside of the spine here. Okay. And then we're going to put some glue on the edges here. Not a whole lot, but just enough to make sure that it's going to stick down. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to press these up like this so that we can train the paper to fold up where we need it to be on all sides here. Okay, so we're going to start here with the edges here. Just going to stick it down. Make sure you crease that. Okay, so there's that. Now when we flip it over, we have this, so we're going to slowly and carefully bend so that the book will close. None of the paper cracked on the spine, so that's good. That's due to having the spine being just a tiny bit away from the flaps on the outside. All right, guys, I noticed that the sun was kind of peeking through the blinds a little bit, so I had to take care of that so you guys aren't blinded here. All right, so we got this part done. So that is super cute. I love the cover. Super adorable. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover the inside of this so that you don't see the cardboard. So I chose this paper here to do that. So now what you're going to want to do is measure. Okay, so you're going to want to measure so that you can still see some of this on the outside, right? So we're going to measure this. That's an inch. And that's about an inch. So we're going to take like a 1/2 inch down. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make it about 6.5 inches long by about 9.5 inches wide. So 6.5 inches long by 9.5 inches wide is what we're going to do. Let me just double check that. 6.5, yes, okay. So let's cut our paper down. Let's set this aside. Let's measure this. We're gonna go 9.5 inches wide. So let's do that first. I wanna make sure it's correct. 9.5. So let's cut that down. I always do each cut like individually instead of marking them all out on the paper and then doing all my cuts, because I'm afraid I'll end up like screwing up somewhere if I do that. Okay, so we have the width. Let's just put that there. That's perfect. Look at that. Okay, so now let's do the 6.5 inches long. Let's turn it. Okay, right here, 6.5 inches. Let's cut that down. Again, if you don't have one of these, you can always use your scissors. Just make sure instead of making a little notch, just trace it all the way down so that you know that you're making a straight cut the whole time. Okay. So let's just make sure here. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to glue this down. Let me move these out of the way. My dog is snoring so loud. I know you guys can hear him. I'm so sorry about that. But I don't have the heart to wake him up. He looks so cute. All right, so we're going to put a thin bead of glue around the outside. Around the edges, rather. And then very lightly on the inside. But again, if you're using glue stick, just cover the whole thing. Let's make sure this is even before I let it go. That looks good. That looks good. This is going to be so adorable for Valentine's Day. So adorable. Also, guys, when I am finished making this and the one that I showed you guys, this right here, this one right here, are both going to be available for sale in my Etsy store. And I will have the link to my Etsy store down below in the description. If you guys don't want to make one, or you don't have time to make one, or you're just not a crafty person, but you want one and you like the way these turn out, you are free to head on over to my Etsy store and purchase these, but obviously there's only going to be one of each, so kind of be hasty if you want them because they might sell quick. Okay, so we're going to try and we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to fold it in to kind of train it to bend here. Because like I said, we don't want our paper cracking or anything like that. Okay, that looks good, right? That looks good. And this will become more, obviously more sturdy once we get our waterfall effect in here. All right, guys, there we go. There is our cover, front and back, and the inside. And of course, when we're completely finished with all of it, we will embellish the front of this a little bit. It's so pretty though. I don't know if I want to do it a lot like I did with the other one, but we might add a few little flowers or like hearts and stuff like that on the front of this. And I have the perfect ribbon to secure this with on the side here, so we'll get to that part. Okay, next guys, we're going to start preparing our flaps and our pockets to put on both sides of these. Again, I'm using 9, so I'm going to have 9 flaps with 9 pockets on them. Again, you can use as many as you want. If you're following my measurements, you're going to want to follow the measurements I'm about to give you for the flaps and the pockets. If you're doing fewer pockets than I am, obviously you're going to want to make them a little bit bigger so that they fill the space up more. If you're using more pockets, you're obviously going to want to make them a little bit smaller because then you'll run out of room, obviously. So what I did for the back part, so here, let me show you, like on this, for example, I might as well just keep this open. So, okay. So the back part, which is this part right here, the base of the flap right here is what I chose these for. I chose like a cream color for this because there's creams and stuff in this, but for this project I chose white, and these are pretty thick. I don't know if you can see the texture, but they are pretty thick, like a cardstock. So you want to try to get like a thicker paper for the base of the flap, you know, just so that they're nice and durable. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through and I'm going to punch the corners on all of these so that the bottom, just on the 2 bottom sides, so that they're rounded, not on the top, because we're actually going to be scoring a line at the top so that it has this effect to be able to bend up and down. So we're going to punch the bottom 2 corners. And if you don't have a corner punch, I got this on Amazon. But if you don't have a corner punch, you could take like your glue or even like your glue stick, okay? And you can just like set that on the bottom and just trace around it and cut it with your scissors, okay? And these, by the way, are 3 1/4 inches wide and 3 inches long. So 3 1/4 inches wide and 3 inches long. So make sure that when you do your corners on the bottom that you have it this way, that you have it like width side this way so that your corners are down here, okay? Because you don't want to do them on the other side, and then you're gonna have to turn your pockets or your flaps and then they're gonna be a little too skinny. So you don't want to do that. So I'm gonna go with the 7mm, punch the corner. And I'm going to go through all of these, make sure that's okay. I'm going to go through all of these and punch the corners, but I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do that. I'm just going to go ahead and do that really quick, and I will be right back. All right, guys, I went through and I punched the corners out on the bottom of all of these. So again, we're doing 9 on this side at 9 on this side. So there are 18 of these total. So the next thing we're going to do with these is we are going to make a score line across the top here so that we can bend it so that the flap has the ability to bend back and forth. So what we're going to do is we are going to move this out of the way. We are going to measure, where did my pencil go? Here we go. We are going to measure on the top where it goes straight across. We are going to do a centimeter. So actually let's do it on the back because we don't want the pencil line to be on the front, even though we're going to erase them still. So you want to measure 1 centimeter. And that's where we're going to score, okay? So you're going to want to take your scoreboard, or again, if you don't have a scoreboard, you can just take your bone folder or the end of a mechanical pencil with the lead in, and then just kind of go like, you know, along the line here and just kind of press down. I prefer to use my scoreboard. It's just easier for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put it in like that, line it up with the line that I made, and just score. Okay, so that I can bend back and forth. Okay, and I'm going to go through and do that with all of these guys. So again, I'm not going to bore you and make you watch me do it with all of them, so I will be right back. All right guys, I am back and I have all 18 of these scored. 1 centimeter down from the top, straight across. So again, when you go to bend it to put it in your thing, it has the ability to come up and down. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to ink the edges of all of these. So what I have here is my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. This is the one that I choose to use most of the time. Okay, and we're just going to go through and lightly ink them all. I'm going to just do it lightly. If you like to heavily ink, then that's cool. Me personally, I just prefer to do it lightly. Just to kind of get it just on the edge a little bit. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all of these. Again, not going to make you sit here and watch me, guys. So let me get through and ink all of these. And again, I will be right back. All right, guys, I went through and I inked all of these. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you prefer the edges to just be white, that is fine. It'll be just as pretty. This is what I prefer to do to make it look, you know, a little vintagey. So I inked all 18 of these. Now the next thing that we need to do is we have our pockets that are going to go over the top of these. Okay, so I have 2 different designs here. We're going to alternate. There's 9 of these and 9 of these, 18 total. So we're going to glue these on top of these. But before we do that, we have to do several things with these. First of all, we have to cut a notch right here, like I have here, so that you can reach in to pull out whatever you have in that pocket. Okay, we're also going to round the corners down here, just like we did on this, so that it all matches up, okay? And of course, we are going to ink the edges of these as well. Now, these are just regular, God, I don't even know the exact weight, but this is just like regular printer paper type paper. It's not nearly as thick as this because this is, you know, the base. So this is just going to lay on top and be the actual pocket. So let's, first, let's round. We'll go through and we'll round, make sure that that is, yes. Okay, round the corners. Okay. So then what we're going to do is, let me turn this around so I can see what I'm doing. We're going to cut the notch. This is just my circle punch, so that I use this to cut notches. If you don't have a circle punch, again, you can just take your glue or your glue stick and put it on halfway and trace around it and then cut it with your scissors. Totally up to you. I get these on Amazon. They're not expensive at all. They're fairly cheap. So we're going to make sure that it's even on both sides. and punch it out like that. So that when we put this on top of here, it's gonna look just like that. How cute is that? And then of course, we're going to ink it lightly, light for me. You do it as light or as dark as you wish, even if you choose to ink. Again, you don't have to. But for me, especially inking the pocket, it's going to give some definition when I lay this down on the flap. Here, and I'll show you what I mean. Also, when you glue this down, you're going to want to glue it below the score line. Okay. So see that? That's going to be adorable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the rest of these. There's 17 left, 18 total because I just did one. And I'm going to round the corners on all of these, cut notches in them, and ink the edges of all of them. And again, won't make you watch me do all that. So I will be right back. And by the way, before I forget, guys, and before I continue to go any further with these, I forgot to give you the measurements of these matte pocket flaps. So again, these are the flaps that are going to go over, or I'm sorry, the pockets that are going to go over your flaps. So the measurements for these are 3 inches wide. Grab my ruler, what's over here, just to make sure. So we got 3 inches wide and 2.5 inches long. So I made these just a little bit smaller than the flap because obviously you want the length to be, you know, shorter than the flap because you want to account for the score line. You don't want to breach the score line when it comes to that. You want to make sure that it's just under it. So I did that. And then as far as the width goes, I made it, I believe, 1/2 inch shorter on the width so that you can see, you know, on either side a little bit of the flap when you go to glue that down. So remember, guys, 3.5 inches wide by 2.5 inches long on the pockets. All right, guys, so I just finished these up here. So again, just to recap, I cut these pockets into 3 inches wide by 2.5 inches long. Again, these are the pockets that are going to go over the flaps here. Okay. And I just rounded the bottom corners. I put notches in them and I inked all of them. So again, there's 9 on each side. So there's 18 total. So now that we have those done, what we're going to do now is we're going to glue the pocket over each of these flaps. So let's go ahead and do that now. So again, because these are pockets, we're just going to put glue around here, here, and here. We're not going to put glue up here or in the center because obviously you want to, you know, put stuff down in there. So just here, here, and here. Let me move these out of the way. Okay, and just a thin bead of glue because you don't really want it to run out the sides or the edges on you. Okay, just like this. And then we're going to line that up at the bottom like this because, again, you don't want to breach the score line here at the top. And we're going to make sure we have even, it's even on both sides, that you can see the flap on both sides here. And then just press it down. Okay, see that? Push it down a little bit. There we go. So we have, that's done. That's a pocket. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of these and alternate. So because I'm using 2 different textures and kind of alternating. You can use the same texture for all of your pockets. That's totally up to you. Or you can just use several different kinds. You can use 2 different kinds, 3 different kinds. Again, this is your project, so it's up to you what you use. So I'm going to alternate. So I just did one of these. Now I'm going to do one of these, and I'm going to do one of these, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and get those all stuck down, and I will be right back. All right, guys, we have that done now. So we have our pockets glued on to all of our flaps here. Okay, they're all nice and even. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is we need to cover the back of these flaps, because when they're in here and they lift up and down like this, I don't know if I'm out of angle here, up and down like this, you're gonna see the back, and you don't want it to be, you know, plain. So we're gonna cover the back. So I have 2 different designs to do that, which are these right here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did with the front. We're going to alternate, only this time we're not going to put notches in these because we want these to cover the full back like this, obviously under the score line. Okay, and the measurements on these are 3 inches wide by about 2 1/4 inches long. Okay, because again, when you glue these to the back, you want to keep that score line in mind and make sure that you can see a little bit of the flap around the outside of it so that it's not completely covering it, so that you get a little bit of the color from the flap. So again, we're just going to round the bottom corners on this and on these, and we're going to ink the edges, and then we're going to glue them on just like this without the notch. So let me do one here. I'll put these ones aside and we'll start with these. Okay, let's see. We'll do the 7 millimeters again. So round our edges just on the bottom, not on all 4 sides, because we want it to match up since it's rounded on the flap. It would look weird if we didn't, in my opinion. I mean, again, that's your choice. It is your project. You make it however you want. You can ink as light as you want, ink as dark as you want. You don't even have to ink at all. Totally up to you. So we have that done. Okay, so we're going to turn this over. We're going to apply some glue on this entire thing, because keep in mind, guys, this is not a pocket. This is just to cover the back side of the flap. Okay, you don't need a whole lot of glue. Just a little bit. I'm not trying to get my head in the way here. Make sure it's even on both sides. Take your bone folder, smooth it out. And there we go. So here's the front with the pocket, okay? And then the back is covered so that when you go to flip it up in the book, it's not just a plain back, okay? So I'm gonna go through and I'm going to apply the back to all of these. Again, I'm gonna round the corners on the bottom, ink them, and apply them to all of these. And I will be back as soon as I am done with that. All right, guys, so we have that all done on the back. We have the back of each flap covered, which looks really, really pretty. So now is the fun part, guys. We are going to start assembling. So let's bring our book forward here. Okay, we're going to start with this side. So we're going to take the first flap, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on the back side of the flappy part right above where we scored. If you guys can see our score line, you want to put glue all above that, covering the whole thing. Okay, and then you're going to want to make sure it's centered and glue it down right at the top of this page on the inside here. Again, make sure it's centered. Make sure the top of the flap goes right along the top of the page with the hearts. Make sure it's straight. You don't want it crooked. You want to make sure that it's straight. Let's burnish that down. Make sure it's stuck down really good. Okay, and there is our first flap. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our next one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put glue along the top flap right above where we scored. Okay, make sure it's covered, but not too thick because you don't want it to seep out. And right here, guys, right under here is where we're going to put this. We're just going to butt them up right next to each other, not under, but just right against each other like that. Let's bring this down and make sure that these are even with each other, evenly down before we press it down, which it is. So we're going to give that a good press. Make sure it's down. There's our first two flaps. Okay, again, we're going to do the same thing again. Put glue on the flap right above the score line. Lift these up. Press these down as well too, so that they're, you know, mobile both ways. Butt this up against the bottom of this. Bring these down, make sure that they're even with each other, and then give it a good press. Okay, and you're going to do that with all of them. Again, I'm doing 9 on each side. As you can see, I'm alternating the patterns from both sides, actually. Okay, let's do it again. Glue on the flap. Lift this up. Butt this against that. Make sure they are even. They are. And give it a good press. Okay, we're going to keep going until we hit our 9th one, and then we'll go to the other side. So it is almost the middle of January. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. The holidays, they came and went so fast. See, I'm a huge Christmas person. I love Christmas. So I was so sad when Christmas was over. But it'll be here again before you know it. So hopefully you all had a good holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or anything at all. Hopefully you all had a safe and good holiday and got to spend some time with your loved ones. And hopefully you guys are having a good New Year so far. I know I am. I've been getting a lot of crafting in this year, which was one of my goals, or one of my resolutions, was to get more crafting done. And so far this year I have succeeded. Again, it's still the beginning of the year, but you know, I have been getting a lot of crafting in, which I enjoy doing very, very much. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 3 more to go on this side. So let's get the, get it on my finger. It's okay, it happens all the time. I'm always peeling glue off my fingers. I'm sure you guys understand, especially if you're big crafters. We have glue on our fingers all the time. All the time. Okay, let's make sure it's even. Yes, it is. Give that a good press. It's looking so pretty so far. Loving it so far. And this kind of, you know, project is perfect for gifting too. Like if you have a daughter or a granddaughter, or even, you know, your mother, your niece, your grandmother, your aunt, anybody who's into pink. That looks a little, no, I guess not. I looked crooked, but it's not. Anybody who's into pink. Obviously it is, again, a Valentine's Day theme, so it can be really for anybody, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a Valentine's Day. It's just pretty pink. Okay, so one more. So these make perfect gifts. They definitely do. Or again, you can just keep it for yourself to put some photos in, some keepsakes. You can even journal on some, you know, pretty stationery and fold them up nice and put them in the pockets. All up to you. You can even like keep, you know, coupons, notes, phone numbers, whatever you want to put in the pockets. Okay, or you can just, you know, make them and sell them. If you are into crafting and selling your creations, you can do that as well. Make sure they're all alrighty. So let's get the other side done, guys. And I'm going to fast forward through the other side. All right, guys, so we've got all of these in. They're looking really pretty. Just like the other one. Again, all of these have pockets. Just beautiful. I've allowed them to dry a little bit so that we don't, you know, tear them or rip them, lifting them up and down before they've dried. So here's a little bit of a closer look, so you guys can really see what those look like. So pretty. So I have a few things to embellish the front, and like I said in the beginning, I don't want to embellish the front of this too much because I'm loving the way it looks as it is, but I do want to get some embellishments done. And being that the spine is 1 inch thick is good, because once you start stuffing things in these pockets, this book is going to thicken up a little bit. So it's good to have the reserve space there, which is why we did the 1 inch spine. So yeah, what we're gonna do now, guys, is we are going to embellish the front of this a little bit. So I have a few things. So let me set this aside. I want to make this like a little background. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my tear ruler here. Okay, and just going to tear along the edges here so that we can put this in the center, and those pieces can be put in your scrap pile so that you can use them another time. All right, so we're going to put this here, and I also have a little sticker. It says, "Distance makes the heart grow fonder," and boy, is that ever true. I know sometimes my husband goes out of town for work and I just miss him so much. Okay, guys, so we're going to put that right in the center. How pretty does that look? Okay, so again, you can use anything you want. If you have stickers, go through your stickers, you know, find one that suits the theme or the colors that you have decided to do. And as far as this goes, if you have leftover papers from this project, which you probably will, use those because you want them to match. Like obviously this matches the inside. You know, you want it to stay the same theme, same color. But again, totally up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this down on the front. Okay. Make sure the hearts are facing the right way. Make sure that it's centered. That looks good. take our sticker. I have glue all over my fingers, but again, that is what happens, and it's making it so that I can't peel the sticker because my hands are so gluey. All right, guys, finally, after a little bit of a struggle. Okay, let's make sure it's the right side up. Make sure that that's in the center. I'm so sorry if my head gets in the way. There we go. So beautiful. And also, guys, I have a few die cuts here and that I want to put on the front over here. So let me glue these on. Again, you don't have to use these. These are just an idea or a suggestion, however you want to look at it. All right. Grab hold of that. I'm going to put it over here on the side, just like this, like I did on the last one. Stick that down, and then I'm going to take this flower. This die cut I made myself. I cut this die cut out myself, but this one I ordered a pack of these from Lisa at the Gingerbread Prints. So these are really pretty. I fell in love with these, so I ordered a whole bunch of those from her. I can put the link to her Etsy store in the description below as well. And I'm just going to put this right on top of this, just like that. And there we go. Now the only thing left to do, I'm not going to embellish this anymore. I mean, you can choose to embellish it more if you want. You can embellish the spine, the back too if you wish. I'm going to leave them as is. So the only thing left to do is add the lace to make a closure. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take my hole punch, and I'm going to gauge where the center is. I'm just going to eyeball it, and it looks like it's right about, actually let me open this up and do it from this side. All right, let's do the same on this side. It's very thick, so I had to use both hands to do that. And next, guys, we are going to grab some reinforcement tabs to put on both sides. So we're going to need 4 of these. With this color, I'm probably going to go with the silver. So let me see if I can find, here we go. Here's this sheet. So this will kind of protect the holes when we go to put our lace or ribbon through, whatever it is that you decide to use. I'm going to use like a mauve colored lace, which I'll show you in a minute. I thought was so pretty and would look absolutely gorgeous on this folio journal. It's not even a journal, it's a folio. I don't know, whatever you would want to call it. My stomach is growling. I've been sitting here for so long and my stomach is like, you need to eat. Okay, guys, so I have this pretty lace and it is like a mauve color. So pretty. I think it goes very well. And again, you can use anything you want. You can use lace, you can use ribbon. You can even use like magnetic tabs if you want. Totally up to you. So we're going to go through the back here, just like this. And then we're going to bring it up through the inside on this side. Right, okay, so that's a little long, so let me shorten that just a little bit. It's a little long. Okay, that's good. That's good. So make sure that you pull this out so that you can make sure that they're an even amount, because you're going to have to cut it off here. So about there. Okay. So now that you have that, it does look like a lot, yes, but you know what? It's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty. And then tie your bow. And there we go. Look at that, guys. Look how beautiful that is. Very, very stunning. Again, there are a lot of steps to making this, but you know, they're very easy. They're very, very easy. It's just a little time consuming, but again, it is worth it in the end when you are finished, because it just turns out so beautifully. And then whenever you want to open it up, you just, I always have a habit of tying so tight. I need to stop doing that. You just untie your closure and pull it out the back here. And there you go. Oh, also, I have some tabs here, like I have in this one, like I showed you guys earlier. I did put like a little name tag right here so that you can personalize it and put your name or the person's name that you plan on gifting this to, or whatever you want. I thought that was a cute idea. So let's go ahead, let me pick one out here. Let's go ahead and add one of those. I think this is nice, right? You can go something like this so that you can, again, go ahead and personalize this by putting your name, or if you plan on gifting it to somebody, you can put their name in there, maybe write a little message on it. If you plan on using it for, you know, like I said earlier, like coupons or something, you can, you know, write coupons. It doesn't, whatever you want. But this label allows you to personalize this to your very own. There we go. Very, very pretty. Look at that, guys. Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And the best part about making one of these two is it leaves you with a lot of leftover scraps that you can end up using for other projects later on. So that's always a good thing too, right? All right, so let's close this back up. So there we go, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you, you know, don't have a rough time following along and yours comes out just as beautiful or even more beautiful. And if you do happen to make one, you know, take some pictures or take some video and email them to me. I would love to see your version of this project, and you can email them right to my email address, which is in the About section of my YouTube channel. Again, I would absolutely love to see them. If you have any more ideas on different things that you can do with this, don't hesitate to put those down in the comments below as well. And again, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are not subscribed and you are new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and make sure that you hit that like button as well. It's very, very helpful and it's very much appreciated. And I will be back again very soon with some more tutorials on how to make different journaling items. So again, thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.